Truth telling. We're big old fat liars. We waste our life as a result. And the power in truth telling. That's today's topic. This is another takeaway from Women Gods Gather. I told you there were four. Yesterday I discussed one of them. I the second one actually was discussed while I was in Atlanta. That's um, activating pussy desire, true desire. Today is the third one, and then tomorrow um, there's a possibility I'll go into a fourth one. So again, today's topic is we're liars. We're talking about women, um, how we waste our life as a result, and the freedom, liberation, and power in truth telling. So I rent in a co-working office space, and there's a big crowd today, and they're really, really loud. I can hear them. So if you hear like just a bunch of women chatting in the back, that's what's going on. They're literally like two offices away, but there's like 10 of them, and they're having a good old time. So if you hear a bunch of women loud, that's what's going on. So, hello, my name is Naima. If you're new here, I'm the founder of the Academy for Womanhood, where we help women grow up and become unapologetic women who allow desire to lead their lives. And starting next week, I will be starting my new show. Uh, yeah, and so I'll talk more about that tomorrow because I might change the name. If you were here yesterday, I talked about the name. It was going to be Spiritual and Rich. I like that, Spiritual and Rich. And then I thought about it some more about who we're calling in and some other factors. So I may change the name. Anyway, tomorrow at 2 o'clock when I'm live, I'll have the final decision for the name and most likely, and then the schedule. Because remember I said I'm not sure what time I'm going to start going live next Monday. Thank you for all those hearts. So I'd like to invite you, before I get into the topic today, I'd like to invite you into my womanhood initiation. If you are a woman who's ready to grow up and become unapologetic in designing your life based on true desire, no longer wasting your life, and you like community support with women who are doing the same, I invite you into my womanhood initiation. It's happening tomorrow, Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific. You can register for that with the link in my bio right now. And on Facebook, the link to sign up for this initiation is with this video. It's called Womanhood Initiation. And it's happening tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific. So today's topic is we're big fat liars. We waste our lives as a result, and the freedom and liberation in truth telling. So, so many directions to go. I'm going to come say hi first. Hi, Todd Styles. Thank you for liking the live. Jennifer, thank you for liking the live. If you're here on a regular and you know there's great value here for you, I ask that you share the live right now so other women can also experience this value. Women and men, because you never know what men might say yes to your invitation. So go ahead and share the live stream now, please. Thank you for sharing, Luminous. Hey. So we're big fat liars. We waste a lot of our life as a result, and the liberation in truth telling. So first, I'd like to get into what a lie is. I think a lot of people think that deliberate intent to deceive is a lie. Like that's for a lot of people, that's the definition of a lie. I tell you something false deliberately so you believe something else. That's what most people consider a lie, right? Can we agree there? Right? An ex used to say, well, the omission of the truth is a lie, meaning I might not lie, but I might not tell you what the truth is. And by me merely not saying it, I'm lying. That was his definition of a lie. Okay. Uh, so those are lies, right? Okay. Well, the obvious deliberate intent to deceive is a lie. And then I can see how somebody is like, well, if you knew that and you knew that knowledge would change the situation or change my decision and you deliberately withheld that, that's falling on intent to deceive. So yes, those are lies. Yeah. And then withholding what is true for, so this is another definition of a lie that I'm getting ready to share that women commonly engage, where I withhold what is true in order not to disrupt whatever is going on wherever I am. Okay. That could be at a job, that could be in a relationship with anybody, your mom, your husband, lover, right? So an example of this would be, I'll use myself with my mom as an example. I remember when I really wanted to level up financially as a coach, and I started doing alchemical work. And when you start doing alchemical work, especially when you're by yourself and you don't really know what you're doing, it's sort of like tinkering in the dark. You just, so it could be, if this is new for you, you're new to truly leaning on your deep felt sense of things and responding to that. Most women don't respond to their deep felt sense of things. They do things out of obligation, out of trying to maintain an image, out of scarcity, fear. However, when you start moving through your life from a deep felt sense, it's like your power starts to show. Like people start to see you different. And um, for most of us, it'll cause a rise in our nervous system because we start to get seen different. And a lot of women put forth a lot of effort to not be seen for who they are. We put forth a lot of effort to maintain being perceived a certain way. You hear the difference there? So when you start to truly move from a deep felt sense, meaning you start saying things from a deep felt sense, you start making decisions with different people at a deep felt sense, there are things that you will want to say that when you say them, it's going to disrupt whatever relationship you're in. So I remember with my mom, I just had a feeling of being scared to make more money than her. And it was just, it bubbled up when I started wanting to level up in my coaching business. Now, this is an unconscious thing until it wasn't. Okay. And I remember thinking, like, oh my God, and noticing it just, and then this feeling of like, my mom is not going to like me making more money than her. It was just a deep felt sense. My mom is not going to like me making more money than her. And so I remember it was one of those deep felt senses that it didn't go away. I couldn't talk myself out of it, which a lot of women try to do. We try to rationalize, we flip things 10 ways, and then a woman will waste years of her life just in her head trying to do things through a rational, try to make it make sense kind of lens. And she'll live from 33 to 43. Like this, when you start truly documenting what's going on inside of you and how much time you exist inside of a certain frame and exist inside of a certain decision and how long you live like that, you'll hang out in a relationship with yourself and with other people where basically you're stale for a decade. You might change your hair, you might change your whatever, but you're stale because the evolution of you, there's no real evolution of you for a decade, and all of it is because of something inside that you're withholding, that when you let this thing out, it's going to disrupt, transform not only your relationship with yourself, but your relationship with the person who you're withholding it from, assuming there's another person. And in this instance, the other person was my mother. So I remember this was at a time of great conviction in my life where I was desperate to get free. I tell you, it's going to be pain or inspiration that's going to move you. Nobody moves when life is just so good. Almost never. Almost never. Nobody moves when it's like, oh my God, life is really good. Let's go crush it. Let's transform our relationship with, you know, um, unless they're inspired. Okay. And so I was like, oh my God, I have to have this conversation with my mom. Like, I just really realized that if I didn't have this conversation, this level of being paralyzed was going to prevail. And I was desperate to get good with my coaching business. I was desperate to make really good money with my coaching business, and I knew I had what it took. And so I brought up the conversation with my mom, one of many. And I won't go into the details about how the conversation went, but having that conversation, just having it, even if she didn't respond to it the way, might have been ideal, just me bringing it up versus withholding and watching myself in it and moving through to the other side freed me in a way. Now, I share this just to begin to give an example of what it looks like when a woman withholds. And had I continued to withhold, how that would have kept me locked financially. How many of you are locked? Okay, so let's broaden this conversation now. Yesterday, I talked about when left to your own devices, most of us don't know how to corner the lies that we tell ourselves. When left alone in our bedroom, when you're just by yourself watching an Instagram live or a Facebook live like this, and you're being rational and you sit by yourself with your coffee and you think about it, and the truth starts to bubble up, it's a disturbing one that would really get you free and have you start moving on to a new level right then and there. Because this stuff is so much easier than we make it. And if you were to tell a particular truth, a difficult one, how that would literally shift your life right then and there. And that when we're by ourselves, most of us are not skilled in handling what happens on the inside. Not only will when we tell the truth, but what that means for us on an energy level on the other side of the truth. Because when you tell the truth that truly liberates you, it affects everybody who's in your world at that time. Your parents, friends, family, whoever, it affects your life. And when this is part of what makes change so hard for so many people, is because we make these agreements along the way in our life. You make the agreement for where you're going to live. You make the agreement for who's your boyfriend, who's your lover, where you're going to work. All kind of agreements we make all the time, directly and indirectly. And then when you're going to want to get free, this agreement that you made is there. And so you have to change that agreement, whatever that looks like for you. And there's a cost when you start making new agreements. So let's say your agreement up till now has been, I'm going to stay, so many, let's imagine in that instance with my mom, if I was like, no, I don't want to have that conversation with her because she's not going to be open to it. And I'm uncomfortable. No, I don't know. Right? I'm using that as my example. You can use your own. And I kept it quiet to myself, right? Any kind of success I would have had, I would have withheld it from my mom. It would have affected our relationship. A subtle resentment would have built. You see, it just would have been problems over time. And I may have not have wanted to give her money because I like giving my mom money. I might have not wanted to give it to her money because I feel like whatever, right? Because I withheld that all that time. And so, how do you begin to get yourself free so you don't waste a decade? How many of y'all are wasting your life right now behind an agreement that you made and you're afraid of the result of telling the truth and what the other side of that truth is going to look like? Because that could elevate you and whoever. It doesn't necessarily mean the relate because it's not like our relationship declined. If anything, it brought us closer. And this is what I mean by you start to find out who really loves you when you start truth telling. A lot of people are in relationships with people who don't really care about their evolution. Real love, true love, real love. You want your people, you want the people who you love to be liberated. Then Maya Angelou said it. Love liberates. Love liberates. And I've heard it many times, and maybe you have too, that when you love somebody, sometimes you realize sometimes their best interest doesn't benefit you. Y'all heard that? Sometimes their best interest doesn't benefit you. Do you love me like that? A lot of people don't love you like that. They love you because of what your presence does for them. They don't love you remotely if you stop doing what you do. And so this is another benefit of truth telling for you is that you tell the truth and you see who leaves and you see who stays. So if listen, do you really want a free life? Like, do you really want to live good? Do you really want to? So what I encourage you to do is, if you're good with cornering lies and then allowing them to shift you physiologically, because when you start telling life-changing truths, you feel them very physiologically. This was a big takeaway I got from Women Gods. Well, I knew this, but having physical experiences with people cements a lot of things. That's the power of going to events where you're doing womanhood work, body work, physiological work. And there's a lot of freedom in the room, a lot of pussy power, pussy power in the room. And we're not all trying to like be decent. It's like you have permission to be loose. And so something that cemented was what it looks like, what it feels like when you store lies in your body, and how people are reading that about you all the time, even if they can't put language on it. A person might not be developed enough to be able to say, but they just feel it. They just feel it. Because when we lie, for women, we store it oftentimes, well, we store it in many places, but one of the chief, most potent places we store it is in our womb area. We clench down in our womb area. We're very tense. We also store in our necks and backs, heads. And what starts to happen when you start telling truth that makes you shiver, typically truth, life-changing truth. There's a kind of truth that's easy to tell. You could just be like, yeah, I am like that, or no, I don't want that. But when you start unlocking a truth that's very tied to either your identity, like something you strongly believe about who you are, or you start unlocking an identity, unlocking a lie that's connected to your sexual self, or you start telling a lie that's undoing a lie that's connected to a survival element of you, uh, you will shake. Your body, there'll be a reaction. You'll move involuntarily. You may cough. And it's basically it's dislodging. And A lot of people don't know how to do that by themselves and then stay with it and then get to the other side and then make a new, love it, approve it, love it, approve it, then get to the other side and then make a decision as a result. And like, it's a process. It's a process. Good God, it's such a process. And you can do it. You can do it very much. Natalia said, I love this word. Yay, very good. And so this is, I think I just shared how. Did I just share how to do this? Here's the thing, and you're welcome to ask me questions about this if you have any. I'll share how as much as I can, or whatever way, you know, that I can without knowing your actual situation. So the let's start with the unconscious. So your unconscious, you're unaware of. So when someone's like, yeah, I have a shadow part of me that really hates to be told what to do. If you're aware of it, it's not a shadow. Okay, if you can say to me, well, I have a shadow part of me that doesn't like to be told what to do. That's not a shadow because you're aware of it. Okay? You're aware of it. So it's not a shadow. Shadow means you're unaware of it. It dictates your behavior underneath, invisible to you. So a good example is a pattern that you hate. Man, I hate struggling, but I keep struggling. Like this woman who was at my womanhood initiation on Sunday. I hate struggling, but I keep struggling. That's an example of something underneath, invisible to you, that's controlling your behavior. That's how the unconscious works. So if you're in anything that you don't like right now, especially if you vehemently don't like it, I hate that I keep choosing the same man. I hate that no matter how much I work, I just can't make more money. I hate that this is like this. I hate that people are like this. I hate that she keep doing that. I hate that we got to keep doing it. Especially when it's vehement like that. There is something deep in your unconscious, invisible to you, that's controlling you from underneath. So when it comes time to get out of it, the reason that it becomes so hard is because it's invisible to you. If it was right before your eyes, you could be like, oh, see, this is the problem, and do something about it. But because it's invisible to you, you toil. You're like, right? And then you go, and then depending on how you move, I don't know how you move, but if you go try to be super rational, if you go try to force something, if there's, because a lot of times lies are in clusters, so you'll be lying about one thing, but it's attached to another thing that's a of value to you. And so you'll choose, there's a deep part of you that wants to maintain the lie because unraveling that lie would unravel another lie that's tied to something that you really want. This is how, this is exactly how these webs go oftentimes. And this is why when you're by yourself, it can become so easy to bypass, to become super rational, to just be like, fuck it, and get on your phone and just binge away. And that's how we end up wasting life, which is why, as part of today's topic, it's about we're big fat liars. This is how we waste a lot of our lives and the freedom and truth telling. And so this is why I'm inviting you into my womanhood initiation on Thursday. This is why, you know, being community, the right community makes all the difference. This is why so many women, you see women today that are like 50, 60 years old, and they're like, I wasted so much time in that job. I wasted so much time in that marriage. I wasted so much time feeling bad about this. I wasted so much time being guilty about that. I wasted so many good years. I wish I knew this when I was 35. I wish, etc. Because when you are not in an environment, first with yourself, right? Because, like I said, it's really hard to corner webs of lies by yourself and get to the other side of them. This is really high level. I hope you're gleaning that for what I'm sharing. Like, this is nuance, and most people are not even skilled enough. First of all, they're not even honest enough with themselves, and they're not skilled enough with the deep webs and nuances of a human to even navigate this. This is high level coaching, this is high level relationship, high level mentorship, which requires, as I said yesterday, compassion, patience, and empathy forever. I wrote that down in my notes this morning. Compassion, patience, and empathy forever, because there's emotional eruption when you start telling the truth. There's shame and guilt when you start telling the truth. There's physiological reactions when you start telling the truth. There's sometimes like wanting to fight the person who's in the experience with you that happens. There's a part of you that wants to hurry up and put the lie back in because the freedom feels too uncomfortable and you're like Bambi, you're not skilled yet. We're dealing with, so there's a part of you that wants to revolt and be like, no, fuck that. Sort of like how if you catch your girlfriend's boyfriend cheating and then you tell her and then she blames you. And she's like, bitch, you just trying to disrupt my relationship, you jealous bitch. The truth of that, assuming it's true, she doesn't like the way that feels. So it's like she wants to hurry up and get back to what she has believed. We do that with ourselves when the truth introduces us to a new world that we're uncomfortable with, unfamiliar with, or a world that we've shamed for a long time. You see the nuance here? So if you start telling a truth and when that cloak comes off, you see yourself inside of a world that you've shamed for 10 years, you're not going to want to be in that place. So then if you are in that place and you're with a coach like me or a mentor, whoever, healer, who has the skill with holding you inside of a foreign world that now the shame in you has erupted, then you can traverse it. But see, this is what most people don't know how to do by themselves. They're not even aware that that's happening because a lot of times it happens fast. You don't immediately have language for it. You feel all alone. There's a level of psychosis that can kick in. And this is why there were mystery schools. This is why there was so much, you know, a lot of magic and power went underground, and people would gather quietly behind closed doors because when you really start coming into power and truth and all of the nuances of truth, you disrupt anything that's a lie, like a system. Like a lot of the systems that we live in, you start to disrupt them. Things that the way humanity is controlled with all the systems and social structures placed on top of them, the truth starts to push them up and open and break. And once upon a time, the powers that be were very public with killing. Like, we beheading you in front of everybody. You know, you can't behead people in front of the world today without getting some repercussions. So now the beheading is done in other ways. Um, and that's a whole other conversation too about beheading and how much freedom we actually have today. But the point is, you know, we're big fat liars. We waste a lot of our lives inside of lies and unskilled with being able to navigate existing for, you know, and as a result, okay, and then what do if I want freedom, how do we do that? I'm sharing with you how, if you want to, you know what I'm saying? Um, Jennifer, you can go find out about the initiation with the link in my bio. Anyone here who wants to register for the Womanhood Initiation, you go to the link in my bio and click Womanhood Initiation. If you're on Facebook, you can go to the link here with this video right now called Womanhood Initiation. And so back to the how. That was a lot already that I just went there. Uh, Ultimately, I feel like I'm directing you to community. I'm That's the thing about this how stuff. When you really start engaging in the how as it relates to becoming powerful, you always need a witness. You always need community. So be like, how? Okay, go do this. And then you go do that, and you need people. You need people in the how. So if you have any questions for me to fill in around the how that I've already shared, let me know. And ultimately, with what I've already shared, you want to get yourself into an ongoing community where women are dealing in real power, which is love filled, which is approval filled, which is permission filled, which is potent. I mean, like I said, it's very physiological. I told y'all on Sunday we had a womanhood initiation, and a woman was inside of a pattern that she's like, I hate it. I hate that I keep saying I don't want to struggle, but I keep struggling. And she was explaining, and I'm looking, and hold on, I need to plug up my laptop. And I asked her one single question, and she was receptive. She let the question in, because some people will keep questions away because they don't want the penetration of the question, and they don't want the penetration of the truth. And they don't want to be seen in the truth either, because there's, like I said, shame and guilt. So anyway, she answered the question, and it was on Zoom, and she was like, ugh. She was literally, she did this on camera with us. She was like, oh, I feel like I want to throw up, and then she was like, I want to cut off all my hair, and she was like, it was like literally she was getting free right then and there in the moment, and then this sadness came over her face, and then she went through a whole gauntlet of emotions within like a 60 seconds, and then I just let her, right? And this is part of my job as a coach and mentor, is to just really be the space for people to have the emotions of it all, right? Which when we're by ourselves, we don't do. We don't know how. We judge and beat up, and then we will go back into the cave, or however, who knows, right? Um, and when I could see that she had gotten along enough for me to intervene again, I said, how do you feel now? She said, I feel so good. I feel so good. I'm going to do this, and I'm good. Yeah. And then we were doing reflections, and, uh, with each other. And she just, it was like anew. And that was just one time. That was just, so I'm just seeing her, and those of you who will be in the community, because ultimately I want you to come into the woman community. Over time, as she supported in traversing the next truth and the next truth and the next truth and the next truth, and being liberated and being liberated and being liberated, who she becomes in the process, the relationship she builds, the more joy, money, whatever it is, because all of you have different goals. So for those of you who want to be more seen in the world, and you're hiding because of whatever, the liberation you'll find inside the woman community, so you can speak more, be more, right? Be more of the woman, the leader, the coach, the lover, the chef, the whatever, you want to be. So I invite you into the womanhood initiation if you're ready to be seen, if you're ready to be vulnerable, if you're ready to tell the truth, if you're ready to know who you are, if you're ready to be a light and reflection for other women, if you're ready to love, if you're ready to express and feel, go deep. Womanhood initiation is happening tomorrow, which is Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific. Okay? All right. I'm out. Thank you so much for being here. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m., a little bit after tomorrow's Womanhood initiation. Thank you so much for being here.